Hey everybody, have totally tropical Todd here with a quick update. I'll fill in some more details at the end, but the quick update is, we've got a CAT5 storm, 175 mile an hour sustained winds, up to 190 mile an hour gusts, scheduled to hit Tampa Wednesday night around 8 p.m. as a strong CAT3, go across the peninsula, across basically the I-4 corridor right through Orlando, pop out the other side near, just south of Daytona Beach. And one of the big things that we're looking at right now is this storm surge potential, massive storm surge potential, along the entire west coast peninsula of Florida. So please, if you're in this area and you haven't evacuated, please move inland. Much of our west coast is under mandatory evacuation. Something really interesting too, in my opinion. So there's the quick update. Now the detail for the nerdier among us, but relevant to anybody living in the Jacksonville to Daytona area. So these storms, as they're rotating counterclockwise and moving, right? And because of that, the track, as they move, the track, and right now this, it's moving very slow, maybe 7 miles an hour, but when it comes across Florida, it's projected to be closer to maybe 10 miles an hour. So let's play with 10 because it's an easy number to do math with, right? So let's say we have a storm that's that's rotating this way, moving in this direction, and has maximum sustained winds of 135 miles an hour. Well, that 135 miles an hour is relative to the eye of the storm. So as that storm is moving on the southern end of the storm, those 135 miles an hour get that addition of that 10 movement forward, since they're blowing in that same direction. So effectively you get like 145 mile an hour winds, but then as it returns on the northern end, it's going against the direction of the storm, so it's subtractive. So you end up with relatively 125 mile an hour winds. So there could be a 20 mile per hour difference, let's say, in the eye wall. According to the eye, it's just rotating around. It's the same speed, but since it's moving this way, it's kind of like a tire rolling on the road, right? You have relatively faster wind speed on the southern side of the storm and on the northern. Now, what does that mean? Well, as this storm approaches, if you look at my mouse on the screen, as the storm approaches this side, the southern end or the right-hand side of the storm is going to be where more damage or more impact can be felt. And as it moves across the peninsula, just south of the eye can be more damaging. Not that you're not going to get severe damage north of the eye, but what's significant for the east coast of Florida is as that moves out back over the water provides energy for these storms. Right? They're driven off of the energy from evaporation of water, and so as it moves out over the east coast, the rotation, it's going to be pulling energy from that water and moving it in this direction back towards the peninsula. So once it crosses the state, as it's crossing the state, the northern side is actually going to become more dangerous than the southern side, especially for storm surge. So it's going to be pulling stormwater back to the north. So if we look back at this storm surge map now, as we move north in the state, we see higher storm surge up here near Jacksonville than even down here near the Space Coast. So big storm surges, even from this weaker hurricane after it's crossed over land, we're still expecting 3 to 5 feet here, in the near the St. John River, near Jacksonville. So please be cautious if you're on the coast here. For us down in South Florida, less of an issue. We're still looking at potential flash floods. So if you're in the Orlando or Tampa or Jacksonville area or Gainesville or anywhere here in this red, This is, high risk for flash floods. You can see the, potential for tropical storm force winds is massive across the entire state. Chances of us getting at least gusts of 39 miles an hour is pretty high. Sustained winds of that high are fairly likely for much of the peninsula and even parts of the panhandle, right? So anyway, that's my quick update, or maybe not so quick update, but I wanted to give everybody a one last update before I call it a night. So I'll come back with more tomorrow, and please stay tuned and be safe and hunker down. This is one to cover the windows. This is one to heat evacuation. I know I often maybe downplay some of the storms. This is a serious one. It's in the top 10 book right now in terms of lowest recorded central pressures for any Atlantic or Caribbean hurricane. So this is a doozy, and we're very happy that it's skirting the Yucatan and not hitting the Yucatan directly. But for us here on the peninsula, for Tampa, this could be devastating. So please take every precaution. Please evacuate if you're along the coast. If you're in an evacuation zone, please take this seriously. This is not, don't play the Florida and shoot the guns in the air and think, you're going to scare off this hurricane. This one will Tampa may never be the same. So please be careful. If you're in Orlando too, this is time to be boarding up the windows tomorrow. Tuesday is the day. That's the window of time to board up or evacuate. Let's get out of there. So please be safe, everyone, and more to come.